Hello everybody, it's me Keeks back with a brand new video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a double Goosebumps book review. Um I'll be reviewing these two books. First off, we're going to be talking about Goosebumps Slappy World book, It's Alive, It's Alive, okay? And then we're going to be talking about Goosebumps Most Wanted, Frankenstein's Dog. Pretty creepy cover. I got a lot to say about this one. This one was really good. Um, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen, with all that said and done, let's jump right into it. Alright, so the first book we're talking about today is Goosebumps Slappy World. It's alive, it's alive. Um, which is a famous quote from the Frankenstein movie. Um, and the reason I'm reviewing both these books is because they kind of have a little bit of the same plot, not really. So we'll go into It's Alive first. Okay, so the book is about two best friends, Livy and Gage, who are part of this robotics club at their school, and they're about to participate in like some kind of competition with another school's robotics club. And Livy and Gage, they made like a humanoid robot that kind of looks like, imagine the robot from, if you know, from the movie Metropolis, which is like a very very old movie, right? Um, that kind of like sort of like 50s design. You know, everybody talks about how it looks like an old robot. Um, Kind of sound like a cool robot to me. Everybody else's robot, like they got one dude from the other school. I believe his name was Chad or Chaz. Started with CH. He builds a robot that can like, you know, shoot 3 pointers and basketball. Um, Another person builds just like a simple robot that can like build miniature robots. But the way they describe it, it's basically like stuff you would see, you know, like I guess battle bots or something, right? Nothing sophisticated as Livy engages. And also part of the story is Livy, her parents are scientists and they work with artificial intelligence. So Livy and Gage built this robot with no help from her parents or anything like that, except for like looking for bugs and stuff. And it comes apparent that this robot has apparently a lot of bugs because they built the robot to basically just crack eggs, right? That's what it's supposed to do. But every time they turn it on, it does something unexpected. Like it tries to break somebody's hand. It trips Livy in one scene. Um, I was about to say there's a scene where like it literally throws her across the yard, but that turned out to be a dream. One of those like, you know, fake outs, you know, that R.L. Stein always does. Um, by the way, this story has like one of my favorite fake outs. There's a scene where they're coming upstairs from like the basement, and they walk into the kitchen and they see what looks like to be blood, and of course this is not blood. It turns out to be ketchup, and it's like the whole thing, right? Um, so the robot starts acting weird. They can't figure it out. They're checking the parents are checking the programming, right? Um, and they're like, "Well, it's been programmed to do this stuff," and Living Gates are like, "Well, we didn't do it." So then it kind of becomes a mystery, and you kind of wonder if the parents are involved, right? Um, and then we get to a point where um, you find out the parents themselves are robots, and that gets crazy. So then you're like, well, if they're robots, who else could be a robot, right? Like there's a scene where like the police come and talk to the kids, and it's like, is this policeman a robot? He could be. So there's this little twist with the parents at the end and the housemaid and everything. I won't talk about the twist. I'll let y'all, if y'all decide to read it for yourselves, you can. Anyways, I have to say, like, the concept, the idea was cool, but honestly, nothing really happens in the story. Um, it's basically robot does something, you know. Um, Livy and Gage get blamed, or like they're seen as the culprit, right? And then and then they try to fix the robot, and then it still continues to do what it's doing. There wasn't like it didn't. There wasn't a lot of like stakes, right? You know, the robot didn't feel scared. The robot would do like dumb stuff, right? Like the only really scary thing it did was like in the beginning when it tries to break Chad or Chaz's hand. Can't remember his name right now. That's about it. And there's one scene later on where it totally destroys another person's robot. Um, no idea why. Well, of course, some ideas why, but you know, it's very, very straightforward. I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. Definitely, you know, not the best, but it's not the worst. But yeah, so 5 out of 10 for that one. You know, very, very light read. You know, I don't think I'd read it again, but you know, a little fun read for the first time. But anyways, yeah, 5 out of 10. It's alive. It's alive. Now let's move on to Frankenstein's dog. Alright, so next up we have Frankenstein's dog, which also, and this is the main reason why I'm doing a double book review for these two books, is that this book is about AI too. So we have the main character, Kat, who is like the niece of Victor Frankenstein. Not that Victor Frankenstein, but like one of his descendants, who's also named Victor Frankenstein, right? And he lives in the same village that Frankenstein lived in, and he's a scientist, of course, and he does a lot of experiments. And Kat is going to visit him for like a week or something, like a week or 2 weeks or something like that. And she's doing like a school project, a science project, and she wants to make a video blog about like his experiments and everything. Okay, so she arrives. Villagers turn against her when they find out who she's related to. Right? They don't like Victor Frankenstein. They think he's just like his ancestor and he's making monsters. Um, they try to attack Cat. They try to attack Cat and a boy named Robbie, who kind of tends to Frankenstein's place. I think I'm a little. He helps almost. I'm not sure. Like, I'm kind of confused with what he's do, but he's kind of like I guess he's more like an errand boy, you would say. He helps her out, helps Cat out of the situation. They finally arrive at the Frankenstein Manor. We meet Victor Frankenstein. We meet two dogs, two guard dogs, and then we meet like a cute little white fluffy dog named Poochie. Now, what happens here is Victor Frankenstein is working on robots and artificial intelligence too. That's his whole thing. He's not making monsters, he's not stitching people together. He's just making robots. So he introduces Cat to Frank, and of course Frank is a robot, and turns him on. Frank, greets him, introduces himself to Cat, and then some weird stuff goes on. Frank ain't working right? Okay, so he gets turned off, and as the story goes along, Kat becomes very suspicious. Um, she tells her uncle about her project and that she wants to videotape him working. And then all of a sudden, the next morning, her phone's been smashed. She writes a letter to her parents, asking if they can like overnight a new one. She finds the letter torn up after her uncle said he would bring it and mail it off in the village. And then we find out that Victor here, Uncle Victor, has been making robots of himself and mapping out his own brain waves and stuff, right? And transferring it to these robots. They have his exact personality, to the point where they believe they are him. And he wants to do the same thing to Cat. He tries to. Um, doesn't go as planned, and then the real Victor shows up, and you know they defeat the robot, and that's like pretty much it. It's a very fun story. I actually like this one. I know I don't do it justice describing it, but it was very fun, and I felt like they did a lot more with the robots here than they really did. Like in It's Alive, right? And like I said before, I think I said this, so my mind just goes all over the place sometimes. So that's why I ramble. But yeah, I decided to review both of these as a double review since they both involve like robots and artificial intelligence. Now I know you were thinking, Keeks, the book is called Frankenstein's Dog. What about Poochie? What about? Well, I'm gonna let you know something. The one thing I was disappointed in is that none of this happens. Nothing really happens with this dog. There's no dog that is like stitched up together. There's no dog that you know was brought to life from like stitch up pieces of different dogs or what have you. No, the only thing that really happens with Poochie is there's one scene where green goo gets spilled on him or her, um, uh, and Poochie starts to grow really big. Obviously, a reference to Monster Blood, right? Um, but they end up like uh, it only lasts about a chapter. They end up fixing it. They wash it off. They wash the goo off, and Poochie starts shrinking back to normal. And then Poochie kind of saves the day, like at the end in a way. But and there's like one of the twists with Poochie, but nothing like this happens in the book, which I was kind of disappointed. Like, why are you gonna call it Frankenstein's dog? Have this really cool cover, a really freaky looking dog, all stitched up, right? And that cover's really freaky. I think that's one of the freakiest Goosebumps covers I've ever seen. Um, but none of that happens. Like the dog's just there. It's just there. You know, nothing really major happens with the dog except for that one scene with the green goo, and then a little something that happens in the end, and that's about it. So yeah, like the title's a little bit misleading, and the cover too. But I really like this story. You know, I thought it was fun. Thought it was a lot better than It's Alive. It's Alive. So I'm gonna give this one like an 8 out of 10. Now I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because I really did enjoy the story. I just taking a point away from like having like a misleading title and cover. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Um, if you did, please drop a like, leave a comment, and I will see you all in the next video. Love you guys.